There's a strange kind of silence that follows a broken heart. Not the loud, dramatic kind you see in movies, no shouting, no fists slamming against walls. Just an eerie, hollow quiet. The kind that seeps into your bones when you realize the person you loved was never really yours. I sat alone in my car that night, gripping the small velvet box in my hand. It felt heavier than it should have, like the weight of all the promises she had broken was crammed inside. The streetlights flickered above me, casting long shadows across the pavement as I stared at the neon glow of the bar's sign. Inside, she was laughing. I could hear it, even from here. That laugh, light, carefree, the same one she used to have for me. But now, it belonged to someone else. To him. I shouldn't have been surprised. The signs had been there for weeks, maybe months. The late nights, the distant looks, the way her phone screen would dim the second I walked into the room. I ignored them all, convincing myself that love was supposed to be tested, that trust meant pushing past the doubts. But there's only so much a man can ignore. I tightened my grip on the ring box, then exhaled slowly. I had two choices. I could walk into that bar and confront her, demand an explanation, let my anger spill out like a flood. Or I could do something she would never expect. I turned the key in the ignition, feeling the low hum of the engine beneath me. Then, with a calmness I didn't know I had in me, I drove away. She had no idea what was coming next. I always thought that when a relationship ended, there would be a clear moment, some dramatic, undeniable proof that shattered everything in an instant. A screaming match. A confession. A tearful apology. But it wasn't like that. It was slow. Quiet. A realization that settled over me like a fog as I drove away from that bar, the engagement ring still in my hand. I could have confronted her, could have burst through those doors and made a scene, but what would that change? She had already made her choice. I drove aimlessly through the city, the streets blending into one another as my thoughts spiraled. I replayed every moment of our relationship, every whispered, "I love you," every time she reached for my hand in the dark. Were those lies? Or had she meant them at the time? Had she just changed? Or had she always been this person, and I just refused to see it? I pulled into the driveway of our apartment. No, her apartment now, and just sat there, staring at the front door. I felt like a stranger outside my own home. I stepped inside, greeted by the smell of lavender candles, her favorite scent, the one I used to love. Now it made my stomach turn. I walked straight to the bedroom, opened the drawer where I kept my things, and grabbed a duffel bag. It took me less than 10 minutes to pack the essentials. Clothes, my toothbrush, a couple of old photos I couldn't bear to leave behind just yet. Everything else? She could have it. But before I left, I did one last thing. I placed the engagement ring on the nightstand, right next to the framed picture of us from last Christmas. The one where she was wrapped in my arms, smiling like I was the only man in the world. I should have felt anger, or heartbreak, but all I felt was exhaustion. Then I walked out and didn't look back. The text came 2 hours later. "Hey babe, I just got home. Where are you? I thought we were gonna watch something tonight." I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the screen. She didn't know yet. She had no idea that everything she thought she was hiding had already come crashing down. For the first time in months, I smiled. She wanted to play games? Fine. Let's see how she handles the one I'm about to start. I sat in my car, parked in a quiet lot just outside of town, staring at her message. "Hey babe, I just got home. Where are you? I thought we were gonna watch something tonight." For a moment, I almost laughed. It was almost surreal, the way she carried on like nothing was happening, like she hadn't just spent her night in a bar with another man, like our life together was still intact. But it wasn't. I didn't reply. Instead, I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat and leaned back, letting the reality of it all sink in. I had walked away. That was supposed to be the hardest part, right? But if that were true, why did my hands still shake? Why did my chest feel like it was being crushed from the inside? I had nowhere to go, no plan beyond getting out of that apartment. My best friend, Joel, lived across town, and I knew he'd open his door if I showed up, but I wasn't ready for the conversation that would follow. Not yet. I needed time. So, I drove. Not fast, not with any particular destination in mind, just enough to feel the motion, to keep myself from sinking too deep into my own thoughts. The roads were empty, streetlights casting long streaks of orange across my windshield as I passed them. It was the kind of night where the world felt hollow, where even the city seemed to hold its breath. Then, my phone buzzed again. This time, she called. I let it ring, and ring, and ring. By the time it went to voicemail, I could practically hear the confusion in her silence. She knows something is off. Good. Let her wonder. But that wasn't the end of it. Within minutes, another text came through. Are you okay? You're not answering. I'm getting worried. Worried? Now that was rich. I pulled into an empty gas station lot, the bright fluorescent lights humming above me, and finally picked up my phone. I typed out my reply slowly, carefully, making sure every word counted. I left something for you on the nightstand. I hit send. Almost immediately, the typing bubbles appeared, then vanished, then came back again. She was hesitating, processing. She hadn't gone into the bedroom yet. I could almost picture her standing in the doorway, heart beginning to race, eyes darting toward the nightstand. The moment she saw the ring, the truth would hit her like a freight train. And I wasn't there to soften the blow. I didn't wait for her response. I turned off my phone. For the first time in a long time, I was in control. And she was the one left in the dark. The first night away should have felt like freedom. No more lies, no more pretending, no more playing the fool. And yet, as I sat alone in a cheap motel room, staring at the ceiling, it didn't feel like a victory. I had spent the last few hours in my car, driving without direction, the streets blurring together as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. The logical part of me knew I had done the right thing. Walking away from someone who betrayed me was the only choice that made sense. But logic didn't stop the ache in my chest, the sinking weight in my stomach. I wasn't mourning her. I was mourning the life I thought we had. The motel was nothing special, faded carpet, buzzing fluorescent light, the faint smell of stale cigarettes clinging to the air. I didn't care. I just needed somewhere to think, to be alone. I threw my duffel bag onto the bed and sat at the small wooden table by the window. It was nearly 2 a.m. My phone, still turned off, lay face down in front of me. I knew she had seen the ring by now. I could imagine her reaction, the moment she walked into the bedroom, expecting everything to be normal, only to find that small velvet box sitting next to our framed picture. Would she be confused at first? Maybe. Would she panic? Probably. Would she finally realize that I knew? Without a doubt. And yet, I wasn't ready to turn my phone back on. Not yet. Instead, I sat there, replaying every moment of our relationship in my head. The laughter, the shared dreams, the quiet mornings when everything felt perfect. The way she used to look at me, like I was her entire world. And then I thought about the last few months. The late nights. The excuses. The way she would smile at her phone but lock it the second I entered the room. The forced affection, the way her kisses felt different, like they belonged to someone else first. I had ignored the signs. I wanted to ignore them. Because if I acknowledged them, I would have to accept that the person I loved was gone. That was the hardest part. Not the betrayal itself. Not the lies. But the realization that the woman I had built a future with no longer existed. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. I froze. No one knew I was here. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But then another knock came, firmer this time. Slowly, I stood, my pulse quickening as I approached the door. I peered through the peephole, expecting, what? The motel manager? A random traveler who had the wrong room? But it wasn't a stranger. It was Joel. I sighed, unlocking the door. You gonna let me in? Or are we having this conversation in the hallway? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I stepped aside, and he walked in, glancing around the room before turning to me. Damn, man. A motel? You really just left? I nodded, rubbing a hand over my face. Yeah. Joel exhaled slowly, then sat on the edge of the bed. All right. Tell me everything. And so, I did. For the first time since I walked away, I let it all out. And that's when I realized, this was just the beginning. Joel listened in silence as I told him everything, the way I sat in my car outside that bar, the moment I saw her through the window, the laughter she shared with another man like I never existed. I told him about driving aimlessly, about leaving the engagement ring behind, about the moment I turned my phone off just so I wouldn't have to hear her voice. When I finished, he just sat there, shaking his head. Man, I don't even know what to say. Yeah, me neither, I muttered, leaning back in the chair. My body felt like it had been wrung dry, like every ounce of emotion had been squeezed out of me, leaving nothing but exhaustion. You want my honest opinion? Joel asked after a moment. I let out a humorless chuckle. Not really, but I don't think that's gonna stop you. He smirked, but his expression quickly turned serious. You did the right thing leaving. You know that, right? Do I? I exhaled. Because right now, it just feels like I walked away from my own life while she gets to keep living hers like nothing happened. Joel rubbed his chin, studying me for a moment. I get it, man. It doesn't feel fair. But let me ask you something. If you had stayed, if you had confronted her, what do you think would have happened? I didn't have an answer. Would she have denied it? Cried? Tried to flip it on me? Maybe. Or maybe she would have admitted everything and told me exactly how long I had been a fool. Either way, the result would have been the same. Look, Joel continued, you walking away? That's power, man. She expected a fight. She expected you to lose your mind, to beg, to yell, to demand answers. But you didn't give her any of that. And now, she's the one sitting at home, wondering what's coming next. The thought of that gave me the first real sense of relief I'd had in hours. Joel leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. So, what now? You just gonna camp out here forever? I shook my head. No. I just needed time to think. I'm not running away from this. I just needed to be somewhere that wasn't ours. Good, Joel said, nodding. Because you know she's gonna reach out again. And eventually, you're gonna have to deal with it. I knew he was right. I could ignore her texts, dodge her calls, but at some point, I'd have to face whatever came next. Just as that thought settled in, my phone vibrated. I glanced at it, heart pounding, but it wasn't a message from her. It was an email. From my bank. I frowned, unlocking my phone, and the second I read the subject line, every muscle in my body went rigid. Withdrawal alert. $4,500 transaction approved. What the hell? I muttered, sitting up straight. Joel caught the look on my face immediately. What? What happened? I opened the message, scanning it quickly. It was from our shared account, the one we had both contributed to for years, the one that was supposed to be for our wedding, our honeymoon, our future. Except now, nearly $5,000 was missing, and I already knew who had taken it. I turned my phone back on, scrolling through my missed messages, and sure enough, there it was. Orson, I don't know what's going on, but we need to talk. Please. Call me. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to breathe. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was theft. And now, I wasn't just walking away. I was about to take everything back. There are moments in life when something snaps inside you, when whatever grief, heartbreak, or doubt you've been carrying burns away, leaving only clarity. Cold, sharp, unshakable clarity. This was one of those moments. I stared at my phone screen, the numbers blurring in front of my eyes. $4,500. Gone. Just like that. Money I had spent years saving, working overtime shifts, skipping out on vacations, tightening my budget because I believed in a future with her. And now, she had taken it like it was hers to use, like I was nothing more than a stepping stone on her path to wherever the hell she thought she was going. I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles cracked. Joel was still watching me. All right, man, what's going on? You look like you're about to. He stopped, then nodded slowly. It's her, isn't it? I barely heard him. My pulse was roaring in my ears, a storm building inside me. I had walked away from her, from us, because I wanted to keep my dignity. I wanted to be the better man. But she hadn't even given me a full day before she dug her nails into my wallet like I was just another resource to drain. I took a deep breath, then another. Then I stood up. Where are you going? Joel asked, following me with his eyes. To take back what's mine. I grabbed my keys and stormed out of the motel room, ignoring Joel's protests as he hurried after me. Hold up, man. Think this through before you do something stupid. I whirled around. She stole from me, Joel. That money was ours, and she just decided she had a right to it. Joel exhaled sharply. I get it. But what are you gonna do? March into the apartment and demand she gives it back? You think she's just gonna hand over $4,000 because you asked nicely? That stopped me for a second. No, she wouldn't. But I wasn't planning on asking nicely. I yanked open my car door and got in. Joel hesitated for half a second before climbing into the passenger seat. If this turns into some full-blown disaster, I want a front row seat, he muttered. The drive back to her apartment was a blur. My hands were steady on the wheel, my mind sharper than it had been in weeks. I knew exactly how this was going to play out. When I pulled up, her car was in the driveway. Good. That meant she was home. I stepped out, taking a deep breath before walking up the front steps. Joel followed at a cautious distance. I knocked. Silence. I knocked again, harder this time. Then footsteps. A pause. Then the door opened just a crack, and there she was. Ariella. Her eyes were wide, her face pale. She looked exhausted, hair messy, makeup smudged, wearing one of my old hoodies like she had forgotten it wasn't hers anymore. Orson. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You're here. No kidding. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Mind letting me in? She hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then I'll keep this simple. Give me my money back. Her breath caught. What? I tilted my head. Don't play dumb, Ariella. For $1,500. Gone from our account. My account. You want to explain why? Her lips parted, but no sound came out. For the first time, I saw something new in her expression, fear. Not fear of me. Fear of what she had done. I was going to, she swallowed, her voice shaky. I was going to tell you. Save it. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. I just want my money back, Ariella. She looked away. I can't. I laughed. A low, bitter sound. You can't. She glanced at Joel behind me like he could somehow save her, then looked back at me. It's gone, she whispered. I went completely still. Gone. I repeated. She nodded. I had to pay off something. Alone. My voice was deathly calm. Or was it something else? She opened her mouth, but the look in her eyes said it all. She hadn't used that money for a loan. She had used it on him. Something inside me turned to ice. I took a step back, nodding slowly. Okay, fine. Ariella frowned. Fine. I repeated. Keep the money. She blinked. Wait, really? I smiled again. Yeah, keep it. I turned to walk away, and for the first time, her face filled with genuine confusion. What does that mean? She asked, voice rising. What are you planning? I glanced back over my shoulder. You'll find out soon enough. Then I walked away. She had no idea that I had just taken everything from her. As I walked back to my car, my mind was clearer than it had been in weeks. The anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface, but now it had a direction. A purpose. Ariella had taken my money, lied to my face, and spent it on the man she had betrayed me with. She thought she had won. She had no idea she was about to lose everything. Joel climbed into the passenger seat, still watching me like he wasn't sure whether I was about to lose my mind or execute the most brilliant plan of my life. Okay, he said, buckling his seatbelt. What the hell was that? Keep the money? That's not what I was expecting. I smirked, gripping the steering wheel as I pulled out of the driveway. Oh, she can keep the money. I'm taking back everything else. Joel let out a low whistle. All right, I'm listening. I glanced at the apartment one last time in the rearview mirror before turning onto the road. Ariella thinks she's in control, but she's forgetting something. That apartment? My name is on the lease. That car she's driving? I paid for half of it. Every piece of furniture, every bill, every convenience she's been living off of? Mine. Joel sat back, nodding slowly. So what's the plan? I smiled. I'm cutting her off. Completely. By the time I'm done, she won't have a bed to sleep in, a car to drive, or a bank account that isn't overdrawn. Joel let out a low chuckle. That's cold, man. I love it. I made the first call before I even left the neighborhood. The leasing office was closed for the night, but I left a message. This is Orson Levitt. I need to make some changes to the lease on my apartment. Please call me first thing in the morning. Next, I pulled up my banking app and went straight to the joint account settings. I had been an idiot for keeping our money together for so long, but it worked in my favor now. I still had full control. I transferred out every last cent that hadn't already been stolen. Balance remaining? $0. Damn. Joel muttered, glancing at my screen. She's gonna lose her mind. I wasn't done. I logged into the car insurance portal and removed her from the policy. If she got pulled over, she'd find out real quick that she was uninsured. Not my problem. Then came the utilities. Water, electric, internet. All of them had my name on the account. A few clicks later, and the disconnection requests were scheduled. By the end of the night, Ariella would still have her fancy little apartment, except there'd be no money in her account, no power, no running water, and no way to fix it. And the best part? She wouldn't know until it was too late. Joel let out a low laugh as I put my phone down. Dude, you are brutal. I exhaled, staring at the empty road ahead. She took $4,000 and spent it on him. If she wanted to make me feel powerless, she should have done a better job. Joel shook his head, grinning. I gotta hand it to you, man. You're handling this way better than most guys would. I wasn't sure about that. My heart still felt like it had been ripped out of my chest. My stomach was still twisted into knots, and I knew the worst part hadn't even come yet. Because she hadn't called me back. She was too quiet. And that meant one thing, she was planning something, too. The only question was whether she saw the storm coming before it hit. I doubted it. Morning came, and with it, the first domino fell. My phone buzzed violently on the nightstand of Joel's guest room, the vibration rattling against the wood like an alarm. I had barely slept, but when I saw the name on the screen, I felt more awake than I had in days. Ariella. I took my time answering. Let her sweat a little. When I finally picked up, I didn't say anything, I just waited. At first, there was silence. Then, a sharp inhale. You cut me off. Her voice was frantic, on the verge of panic. The utilities, the bank account. What the hell did you do? I leaned back, letting a smirk tug at my lips. Oh, so you noticed? Ariella let out a shaky breath. Orson, I need you to turn it back on. I don't have money for rent. I can't even drive my car because my insurance is gone now. I let her words sink in. Just a few days ago, I had been the one drowning, the one left in the dark while she laughed in a bar with another man. Now, the roles had flipped. I guess you should have thought of that before you stole from me, I said evenly. There was a pause. Then, her voice dropped into something softer, more desperate. Orson. I'm sorry. I closed my eyes. I had waited for those words. I had wanted those words. But now that I had them, they felt empty. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She wasn't sorry she broke my trust. She was sorry she got caught. I'm not coming back, Ariella. My voice was calm, final. I'm done. But where am I supposed to go? She whispered. That wasn't my problem anymore. I didn't say anything, just let the silence stretch between us until she finally hung up. Joel, who had been listening from the kitchen, peeked in with a cup of coffee in hand. Damn, man. That was cold. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. I didn't enjoy that as much as I thought I would. Yeah, well, that's what makes you a good guy, he said, setting the coffee down in front of me. And good guys? They get back up. I stared at the steaming cup, letting those words settle. Maybe I wasn't winning, but I wasn't losing anymore, either. And that was enough. For now.